So it's another integration talk to see how taxonomies can work in Atypon.
Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me. And so just in a nutshell, what is Atypon? It's yet another hosting platform. So by that I mean specifically we run the content hosting, access control, e-commerce, search, etc. We've got several of the world's largest STM publishers, including a few who are fortunate to have in the room today. My role as Director of Publishing Technology is to work with many of these publishers. It's supposed to be all of them, but realistically that's not always possible. But many of these publishers at a high level, at a platform level, to figure out what is their roadmap in the next 3 to 5 years, what are the features that they need, and how can we incorporate that back into our platform, which really then comes back, goes out, and benefits all the publishers involved. I've been given specific instructions to not speak about that today. Instead, I'm going to speak about the features that we have live on our system right now, because we want to show you what you can do today, especially those of you who are already running on our platform, specifically with respect to taxonomy-related features. So when I have conversations like that with publishers, I have literally asked the question before, so you have a taxonomy, now what do you want to do with it? That is part of my role, so I can show you some of the answers that I've gotten back from that and what we're doing in response to that. Then I want to turn that around to you guys and hear what further ideas you have that you're not seeing in here or in Jay's presentation or from PubTech. What concepts are we missing here that would actually really drive value to end users and then also to publishers? And those are two different things, right? That's one reason why I make a point of always saying end users when we're talking about people from the public, from institutions who come in to read our articles, because that's one type of user, but we are also users of these systems as well, and we have different needs. Let's think of both of those things and not pretend that they're the same, because they're really not. Okay, so quick agenda of what I'd like to run through is go through the taxonomy features that we have live available on our platform right now, and then some of the business cases behind those, some of the drivers that influence that. Don't want to get too down into the weeds on the technical side of things, because if we sort of zoom out a bit and think about how can you make money doing, you're taking advantage of these features, I find that ties things together much more clearly. Then I want to show you a little bit of what the back end looks like for some of the more basic taxonomy features. So if you are a publisher, you can see how we will integrate with your taxonomies, especially if it's coming from Access Innovations, and how you manage that on an ongoing basis, because as we all know, taxonomies are a continued investment, and they're going to only retain their value if you keep them alive. And then I've got questions for you guys. Hopefully you'll have some questions for me. And then, more importantly, the fifth item on here is apparently lunch. I'm right before lunch, so I'm going to try very hard to not go over, because I'm probably not as interesting as lunch is. Unfortunately, I've got to head out just after lunch, so if you've got any questions that we don't cover during the Q&A session, please come up and find me during lunch. I'd be happy to, at the very least, do an introduction, and you guys can get my card and we can talk later, etc. So, okay. So, to give you some context about how taxonomies work on Literatum, I just want to zoom out and tell you at a very high level how they're structured in our backend database. The answer is it's incredibly modular. It's a taxonomy, quote-unquote taxonomy, can come from any place. So it's very possible that the term taxonomy in Atypon speak is in fact different than the term taxonomy here. It might be a little bit broader for us. I'm not sure. We'll find out. But for us, what we consider a taxonomy is anything that could ultimately be expressed essentially like a tag set. So it could be a topic taxonomy, like a full, real one, a true one that we're talking about here in the context of Access Innovations. It could also be something as simple as an article type, whether it's an editorial versus original research article versus obituary, retraction, whatever you like. we can treat that like a taxonomy as well, and all of our taxonomy features could be applied to something like that. Authors, we can treat them as if they were also a taxonomy, or their institution they're coming from. If there's some sort of arbitrary grouping of authors that you'd like to make, for instance, one of our medical publishers pays attention to authors that are Nobel Prize winners, for instance. So that's a, sort of a cousin grouping that you can apply to authors. What if we consider those to be taxonomies as well? What option does that open up? So when I say things are modular, I'm saying taxonomies can come from any place. They can be that source, and they can also apply to any object in our system. So, I'm hearing a lot of conversation this morning about applying taxonomies to editorial content, applying taxonomies to articles, book chapters, etc. What about applying taxonomies also to users or to authors? And I'm seeing some of that in the presentations today. I'm very interested in seeing where that's going, especially when we can start fingerprinting users and authors based off of what are the topics that these people are interested in. I think there's a lot of growth potential there. And then you can also apply it to usage reporting. So show me usage in this category, regardless of which title it's coming from. Show me, you can apply it to subscriptions as well. So show me subscriptions of any type. I don't really care if they're calendar year or something else, but anybody who's holding a subscription in this area, regardless of whether or not it's just for any one title, we can apply taxonomies there as well. So I believe that because it's so modular, you get a very simple experience working with it, but we haven't even seen all the potential use cases here because there's so much flexibility, you can really do quite a lot. And of course, there's the ability to run multiple taxonomies in parallel. Every one of our publishers is doing that. Some of them are very small. They can be as simple as like 10 tag sets, but those are your key article types, and we've got a bunch of features loaded on that. Targeting advertising, for instance, that's something that I think we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg of saying, okay, well, here's a reader. They've just come to our homepage, but last time they were here, they read 10 articles in this subject X. Can we make our advertising real estate more valuable based off of knowing that and porting that back out to the ad server? The answer is with Atypon's Literatum system. That's the name of our platform. Yes, you can do that. So a couple quick examples here. Let's say every time somebody comes in on an institutional IP range, we say, well, any content published by somebody at your institution, that could be made free. Obviously, we're going to ask the publisher for permission first if they actually want to make that content free, but we found it does bump up readership. Very easy to do once you structure your taxonomies. And then, this is in reference to that Nobel use case. So they were looking at, this one publisher was looking at every author who they suspected might be nominated for Nobel in medicine that year. So that got special branding on all of those pages. And then when the award was announced, immediately just converted all of those to open access because they knew they could capitalize on all that fresh traffic coming in, essentially coming from news sites, all that referral traffic, and converted quite a lot of new users and created a very sticky experience by doing that. So that's something they were able to do because they had their taxonomy in place. I'm going to jump ahead because we've got a couple more examples. So just basic features. Well, they're not basic. I think they're pretty cool. Faceted search. I think this is a concept pretty familiar to everybody here. One thing that I want to point out is that I think it's cut off at the bottom here, but so this is standard search results page for one of our publishers. You can see there's facets on the right side to help them refine that search. So each time they click, it's going to reload, give them something better. Everything that we're seeing here for each of these facets, you've got topic, obviously a taxonomy, region and country. Those are actually one taxonomy together, but they've got multiple levels. The facets break them out. Keywords, that is structured for this publisher as a taxonomy on the back end. That's optional. But when you go beyond that, you actually get into things that are not taxonomies. So you've got the year that it was published, for instance. That is not a taxonomy. It could be, but the point is that our search facets, the the user doesn't need to know what a taxonomy is in order to take full advantage of these. Taxonomies are happily coexisting next to things that are not taxonomies. They all look the same in search facet presentation. So topic pages. This is an example from the same publisher. That's why you can see the branding looks pretty similar here. I think topic pages are getting more and more popular. I'd like to see more of my publishers doing that. That's something that can be driven dynamically by taxonomy. So as new content comes in, as long as it's it's tagged with the topic relevant to this page, then it will appear here. But it's more than just search results that we're showing here. You can see the publisher actually has like a nice image that's specific to this topic page. Write up a description of that. That part is static so that there's actually some context to make this page sticky for users. We could do the same thing as an author page, institution page, anything else you can think of. On the back end, Literatum's going to consider all of these to be different types of topic pages because, again, it's all agnostic to what sort of taxonomy you're using, whether it's a topic-based taxonomy, author-based, institution-based, etc. One thing that I think our publishers really have not taken full advantage of yet is that it doesn't have to just be editorial content showing up on these pages. So why don't we have videos? Why don't we have most read, most cited? Why don't we have data sets, blog entries, podcasts? All of those things can also live on these topic pages because, again, Literatum can apply a taxonomy to more than just an article or a chapter, journal issue, things like that. Literatum can apply those to any object of any type in our system. So why not have all of those up there on topic pages? And then I think you're really going to start capturing those users who are coming to the site just to see something new. They want to see what's up in their field. Let's make our sites more interesting for those users because they're incredibly high value. And once you capture their attention, they even increase further in value. Just showed you that guide. Taxonomy-based navigation. This is pretty similar. Essentially, it's how you get to those topic pages. Again, on the same publisher. I believe this is World Bank, so their content is very geography specific. So you can see, at first you get this drill down page where you've got map of the world and you say which continent you're interested in, or you can jump straight to a country. And then you can see over here you've got topic on the bottom right facet there. And that's because even though you have these two taxonomies, topic versus region, they're happily coexisting, of course, on the same platform, and you can navigate according to both. So you can go see, what do we have? Financial sector development. That's the topic in that search facet that's listed. If you click on that there, you are going to see a topic page for financial sector development that is specific to the country, which is Afghanistan in this case. So they are dynamic in that sense. The topic pages can react to sort of the breadcrumb of how you got there in terms of narrowing down the region taxonomy. So you have both taxonomies influencing each other in the UI. So this is the exact same thing on the other side. We've got topics, except for this publisher, it's only one level on the topic side. For the geography taxonomy, they have regions and then countries below that. Here they just have top level, so it's agriculture. So this is the flip side. So you can see, again, it's cut off, but at the bottom, that facet down there is region facet. So I'm looking at the agriculture page. Of course, I've got a nice stock photo of a tractor. But if I really care about agriculture in South America, that's going to be one of those facets that I can click. So now you're getting those two sides of the two taxonomies to tango with each other. So that's really end user focused. It's UI, it's site navigation. What if we take things to the next level beyond that, and let's make topic-based alerts, for instance. So we have lots of users who subscribe to table of contents alerts when a new journal article comes out, a new book in a book series, etc. Why don't we make alerts where people can follow a subject or a set of subjects or a high-level subject? So that's something that you can easily do. as long as your content is tagged accordingly. And of course, it's all going to happen automatically as the platform ingests new content. If it sees that tag in there in the XML with that relevant topic, it will send out an email alert. Then topic-based products, which we have spoken a lot about today. So a content slice, that's our internal term for how you define a set of content that you're about to give away or sell as an offer for a special product, et cetera. So those can be defined based off of the topic. So instead of saying, I'm giving away this calendar year of this journal, or I'm giving away the selling, you could say, I'm going to sell anything from these 5 journal titles or anything across my entire corpus, as long as it's tagged with this particular topic. Then you can market it accordingly to people who are interested in that topic. So we've got topic-based user targeting. Smart Groups is a technology that we use. It's essentially a container where you can capture end users who meet specific criteria. There's a wizard that we give you to define those criteria. And you can say, show me users coming from Western Europe who are faculty at a university and logging in, or authenticating via IP address. And they've read 3 articles in the last month that have to do with topic X or Y. Once you've got that list, and that's a dynamic list, people move themselves in and out of that list based off of their activity. All of a sudden we can start advertising to them. Maybe we give them special discounts. Maybe we give them like cross-selling referrals in the sidebar on the article pages that they're reading, etc. So this is a slightly more detailed version of that. So with this smart group technology, we could say, what's the example I said? Any user in the United States or Canada that does not have an institutional subscription that's read 3 articles about physical therapy, let's go ahead and recommend these books to them. So I could do that manually and say, here's a list of all the articles I think count, and here's what I want to target. But if I've got a taxonomy, I can just have this done automatically, saying, here's the 10 topics I care about and want to target. And if anybody lights up on any of those 10 topics as having read these 3 articles, then show them something from the same topic that they haven't read that we know they don't have a subscription to. And you get a box like this saying, books recommended to you on that end user. Here's where things start getting really interesting. Okay, so the Lancet recently launched on Literatum, and a couple months, about 2 months before they launched, we had the Ebola outbreak, and they came to us and they said, we want to create an entire site at a different URL, not tied to their homepage, especially because they hadn't even launched yet. They said, this is a global epidemic. We want to sort of serve the global public. We're going to make anything remotely related to Ebola open access, and we're going to put it on its own page, which actually really improved their SEO because it was easier for press to link out to them. They got an incredible amount of traffic coming in, and one thing that's really cool is they set this up in less than a week. At the time, their taxonomy was not up and running to just say, give me the Ebola tag if they were lucky enough to have that topic tag, and then just push all of that free. But they still use taxonomies to make this site. So how they went about it is they got, I think, 5 or 6 editors sitting around a table, and they said, we're going to lock you in a room for 24 hours, pull all content that you believe should be made open access. And then they made a mini taxonomy. It really pretty much only had one topic in it, which is Ebola-related articles that we want to make free this week. And of course, that's growing very fast because they're publishing quite a lot on the topic of Ebola. But what's important here is that when they put this site up, they pointed it towards that taxonomy, and Literatum filled in the blanks for them. So all of this content now is being driven by this taxonomy tag of saying, here's Ebola content we want to make free. So it's not only controlling the presentation, as in controlling what's getting shown on the site, it's controlling the access control as well. So essentially they created this license saying it's OA, so they said, here, we're licensed to everybody in the world, which is the smart group that we have. And they said 0 cost, and it's pointing to this content. the old school way of doing things, the pointing to this content would have been, okay, well, what subscription offer, which journal title, which issue it's under. But now it's just which topic out of your taxonomy, even if that topic is changing day to day. More importantly, this is another part of the site. It's got tons of multimedia. So there's podcasts, there's videos, there's a couple of data sets. There's some webinars, which I forget why, but we treat them a little bit differently than just straight videos. All of those are still being driven by that same taxonomy. So same taxonomy is being applied to the editorial content, those journal articles, as is the taxonomy being applied to the multimedia. Okay, so, and really quickly, this can apply also, maybe you're not responding to a global crisis, maybe that's not really your thing, but what if you're going after a new market? So we had one publisher come to us and say, you know, we found we could really just recycle some of our content. We're going after the high school market. High school and community colleges, we think, could really use our content in a different way than the market that we usually go after. So I said, you know, instead of trying to stretch your site to serve these two very different types of users, because usually it's scientific researchers at pharmaceutical companies, that's their base. I said, why don't we just make an entirely new site? So just like Lancet did with Ebola, you know, it's a new site at a new URL with new branding, and they can target accordingly, can market accordingly to that different group that has different needs and they're selling with a different product. But on the back end, it's all the same content and it's the same taxonomy driving that. And they were able to go in and select which content they wanted to present in this new product, this new market, very quickly because they had their taxonomy up and running, and they could slice and dice accordingly there. So let's do a couple business cases here that hopefully will tie some of these technologies together. So let's say you know, we want to create a topic-based product. We're really going after physical therapists, and we're a publisher. We've got you know, 3 journals that are pretty closely related to that, and then maybe 5 or 6 journals that are tangentially related. So the first thing we do is go into our taxonomy, identify you know, which topics we really want to focus down on, and produce a new product out of that. So let's say it's a one-off purchase. It's like a pay-per-view thing, but it's a collection of 100 articles, and we're calling that a bundle. And then we're saying if you buy this, then you'll also get free access to our flagship journal, which I'm calling Journal of Sports Health. You know, you'll get free access to that for 1 month. Well, our offers technology can help you bundle those two things together, and also set time limits. So maybe this offer expires after 3 months, things like that. And then we want to target this only to, practitioners in states where there are federal grants available to support rural health practices. So Literatum can help you identify you know, who is authenticated as a health practitioner, and using taxonomies, who reads a lot of content in the you know, that's relevant to physical therapists, and then we can create that smart group container for you, and you can market to them accordingly, and perhaps you know, give them a discount or hit them with repeated messaging, etc. So what if we take that one step further? This is a related example. So we're saying, you know, let's create cross-title bundles of journal articles relating to clinical practice, and then we're going to put them on their own branded mini site. So this is kind of like that publisher example I just gave you, where they're saying we're going after this totally different market. How can we leverage more value out of our existing content? So they're coming up with titles that are relevant to those new markets, but they go across multiple different titles. So those are batched together using taxonomy tags. They're off on their own mini sites, which are on their own URLs. And then in order to attract people in, we flip some of them to open access. So you know, there's a paid sponsorship. Let's say you know, the pharmaceutical company wants to sponsor to make some of these I'm going to call them free because that's not true OA. So let's make some of these free for a month, and then it'll say Bayer at the bottom of the page, something like that. Again, taxonomies will help you say this marketing, this advertising, that branding from the pharmaceutical sponsor, only apply it to articles that have this topic tag. And then we'll create another smart group container to find all the people who took a bite, essentially. So step 3, sort of like that happens more like a month later. So create this smart group container, find people who are coming to your site but don't have a subscription. So those are 2 different rules that you set up in the wizard for creating the smart group. And find out, of that subset of your users, how many of them read at least 5 articles, let's say, in the particular topic area that you're trying to promote this new product. And of course, you can set 5 articles. I'm saying that's probably a strong indicator of interest, but however many articles it needs to be, your book chapters, whatever. That's of course variable and set by you. And then once you've captured that group, let's go after them, and you could cross-market to them using our ad server. And you can say, okay, well, we know that you're thinking about buying a subscription, and you've come in and you like some of our content because you keep coming back, but you haven't bought yet. Would you be interested in X at special price Y? That's something that we can do, and it's so much easier to do now that we've got taxonomies up and running on the platform. Okay, I'm going to switch over to show you what the back end looks like for publishers loading things on. In the meantime, are there any questions now? All right, I know I'm going fast. I want to get you to lunch. Okay. So what this looks like for the publishers. This is, I can show you a couple screenshots of our admin tool. It is without a doubt the ugliest part of our platform, but it's also incredibly powerful, so you just have to bear with me.
Some of us think things like that's beautiful.
What's that? You think it's beautiful?
Some of us do.
Okay, well, I think it's beautiful as well for,
in a way,
for technical reasons, not for aesthetic reasons, I'll put it that way. It is deceptively powerful. So one of the things it can do is reporting for you based on taxonomy. So you'll pull specific taxonomy topics or high-level topics, and we'll come back to you with answers on what is the readership been. You can break that down in paid versus open access, whatever time frame you'd like, et cetera. So this would be very useful for doing a post-mortem on a campaign like I just described in the previous slide, asking, did it work, and what was our conversion rate? Well, you can look at the usage here and see, well, we were getting this much usage, and we know we sold this many, so what are the numbers there? Loading in the taxonomy itself. So I book loaded. Do you guys pronounce it SKOS? This is SKOS, yeah, okay, cool. Let's try for SKOS. Yeah, so we do SKOS import. That's usually what we do. If it's a less complex taxonomy, there's also just simple like a tag relationship set that you can do, which is essentially a raw TXT file that's tagged limited. Admin tool, managing your taxonomies is just one of the buttons that we provide there, which is really helpful because obviously you want this auto adjuster when you're migrating the entire thing, but later on, once you want to make like a single tweak to a single tag, you don't need to run that process again, and we have a we have a user interface where you can go in and make tweaks if you need to. So there's a couple different ways to view it. This is the list view where you can show, this is the taxonomy itself before it's applied to any content. So you've got the name and the code, which you definitely need in the background if you've got more than a few dozen tags just to keep things organized. And then it shows you the hierarchy as well. And then here's where things map over to the content itself. You can pull that list as well, so you can see all of the content that has been tagged with specific topics. And that's important as well because you can edit here. So if you need to make a manual decision saying, this was a mistake, I need to correct this, or I need to add in a topic tag, you can do that manually without reprocessing the entire migration. my add and remove. This is going back to applying it to the content objects. We also have a couple ongoing features. So once you've done your migration in the business as usual world, when you send over those updates to your taxonomy, we can give you some options in terms of how we interpret a SKOS file coming in. So for instance, inheritance, you've got some options here for if an entire issue, for instance, gets a topic tag, are we also going to manually write that into every article within the issue, or do you want to control that yourselves and do that selectively? So there's options there in terms of how things will trickle down. Okay. That's all I'm supposed to show now, but there's many more ideas brewing, some of which I believe are very, very powerful. But the most important thing that we can do now, in addition to me answering whatever questions you might have, is find out what does this audience need, and what could we build in that would actually be helpful for you.
Sure, I'll go ahead.
Yeah.
A number.
You've thought about this before, haven't you?
Yeah, a little bit. One of the features that a lot of people are using or want to use is for a search box, is a type ahead and using taxonomy and so forth to do that.
Right.
Once the taxonomy is uploaded, that should be a fairly easy thing to do. Not that it's been enabled yet, as far as I can tell, on anybody's site. However, there is a bit of an issue here. One of the things that Access Innovations can do is, and actually this is part of the SKOS file, is include non-preferred terms or related terms or whatever, but there's no way of actually capturing that in the admin tool, and as far as I know, no way of implementing that as part of a type ahead feature in search. So, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think they mostly involve me touching my nose and wiggling my ears.
Yeah. Okay.
But I mean, our solution to that, which we're working on, it's that, and it's also commonly misspelled terms
Yep.
and commonly confused terms, plural versus not, or sometimes there's translation issues, which I don't think we're going to get in the SKOS file, right, of common misspellings, things like that.
It could depend on whether we have that as a non-preferred term in the taxonomy. I mean, if we had it in our taxonomy and loaded it in, we could. I don't know that we actually have spent a lot of time putting in common misspellings. Most of our non-preferred terms are actually non-preferred terms,
Right.
or I mean synonyms. Not, say,
Like
British spelling,
but
the British spelling of a particular
Gotcha.
American spelling or a common misspelling. But, you don't even have a way of capturing that at the moment, much less making any kind of use of it. So I kind of wondered if there was thought about extending the taxonomy management tool to do that, to capture that kind of information.
yes, there absolutely is, and what we'd like to see is have that driven in part by reviewing the search logs. So if we see a term that's being searched for very often, that nobody seems to like the results that they're getting from it based off of where they go after they run the search, can we feed that back? Because you might be seeing a new non-preferred term there, or perhaps just a new term, and can we learn from that? So the direction that we're going is a combination of what you're talking about, and then also just following where the users are going in terms, and then also in terms of misspellings, etc.
Looks to me like what you chose, well, in choosing the SKOS export, you've chosen a really flat version, and most of the taxonomy definitions you used are what I suspect this audience would call authority files, lists of names and lists of places and lists of lists. They're lists. They're not thesaurus taxonomies and standards compliant. And there's a handshake with the W3C option, but not with the ISO and NISO standards. So you take that back to your guys.
Right.
This was very informative for me because it points out why we've not had as strong a handshake with Atypon as with other places, and it's because most of your taxonomy application is to a flat list, and as Charlotte points out, a related term that goes cross hierarchies, a synonym or non-preferred term